So for our example problem for your assignment, so what I've given you guys is the square or f of x equals the square root of x minus 3. So we're going to go over and kind of review over that before you guys get started on your assignment. So the first thing I have is I have my equation, I have my x values, and knowing that they're restricted as far as their domain is concerned, and we're just going to simply set this up and substitute these values in for the x. So put in my 0, square root of 0, I get minus 3, or negative 3, I put in my square root of 1, I have 1 minus 3, so I'll have a negative 2. I'll type in 4, take the square root of 4, that would be 2 minus 3, so negative 1. And then I put in 9, 9, square root of 9 is 3, 3 minus 3, I would get 0. And then I will go square root of 16, take the square root of 16, that would be 4, 4 minus this 3, and now I have 1. So basically, these are our set of values for this particular problem. So we're just going to go ahead and plot it on our graph. So the first thing I want to do is set this out of the way. So I have 0, negative 3. So I'm at 0, negative 3, 1, 2, and 3. So off here down on the page for our little graph. And then I'm at 1, negative 2, 4, negative 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then negative 1. 9, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 0 doesn't move here. And then what we'll have is a nice little square root function, a radical function that goes in this general direction. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about these key features that we went over yesterday. So yesterday we talked about domain and range, and basically it's what is my possible x values between this little function here. So what's my lowest x value, and then what's the possible if there is a highest x value. So let's go ahead and look at domain. So domain, I'm going to look at different parts. I'm going to look at this side. And if you notice, this has a little arrow, so it keeps going in this general direction, so it's not going to end. So this helps me kind of pinpoint what that starting point for that domain is. So starting domain is at 0, and it keeps increasing in that general direction and doesn't stop. So there's our infinite symbol. Range, so let's go ahead and take a look at our range portion. If I go ahead and take my little highlighter and highlight the according to the y, the lowest y, and then I still have this arrow here because it keeps going, it's keeping increasing this way. So I'm going to have a low value, but not necessarily a high value. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have my range include negative 3, and it goes on to positive infinity here. So that would be my range for this function. So some of those other key features that we want to talk about, definitely your x-intercepts, your y-intercepts, and of course, what type of endpoint you have. So x-intercept first. If I take a look, it crosses the x-line at 9, so that coordinate would be 9, 0. That would be basically where it crosses on the x-line. The y-intercept, where does it cross on my y-line, this y-axis here, and it crosses at this particular point at 0, negative 3. And then take a look at your endpoint. So I don't have an endpoint here, but I have a solid point down at this bottom portion here. Would that be considered a minimum or maximum? Would that be the lowest point, or would that be the highest point? So in our case, we would have a minimum endpoint. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you guys are taking good notes to review over this, and then answer the following questions just to make sure you're keeping up with the video. All right, have a good day.